This is the Go Radio Business Show.
Tom, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Willie.
What have you been doing for the last 3 weeks?
Oh, nothing, Willie. I've missed you a lot. I've missed you a lot.
Skiing down the slopes at Courchevel, partying it up at the New Year, maybe at Gleneagles or Turnberry. Don't geese all that. You've been doing nothing.
I was not at Gleneagles or Turnberry. I can assure you of that, Willie.
Right. Well, it's good to be back.
It is good to be back.
Yeah.
There's plenty going on.
Yeah, and especially now we've got listeners and viewers.
And viewers. Hello, the viewer. Hello.
Everyone who's watched us on our new channel on YouTube.
Yes.
It's not as if we've not got a lot to talk about.
Right, on you go.
We need to start with our pal.
Our pal.
Elon.
Right. What's he been up to? I must have missed it,
I had a
Willie.
wee bet with you before the new year that it wouldn't last. The bromance wouldn't last. And to be fair, but I was talking about his bromance with Donald Trump, not with Nigel Farage.
Yes.
So, what do we think? What's happened there? It didn't last long, did it?
So, I've been reading. As you know, I'm fascinated by Elon Musk. I still think he's a genius, but like all geniuses, they're flawed. And he's got 211 million followers on X, old Twitter. And somebody was tracking him, Willie, and in 24 hours, he posted or replied 170 times.
Wow.
So he's doing that. He's also running Tesla, SpaceX, X, the Boring Company, all of this stuff.
Solar company.
And he's now getting involved with US politics. He seems to be interested in UK politics, German politics. Where does the man find the time?
Well, you and I know that when you're running businesses and you're running a big business, especially the size of the businesses that he's running, right? You need to have your eye on the ball. And there's no doubt that he's spreading himself too thin.
Absolutely.
If I was an investor in Tesla, or I was an investor in SpaceX or anywhere else, and obviously, I don't know if you've seen, but the sales of Tesla were doing 25% in November.
Yep.
So obviously things are not all well there, but he's got such a broad portfolio now, and he seems to be more interested than the social media investment. So X, used to be Twitter. I think that he would give all the rest up tomorrow if he got the right offer to totally focus now on being all powerful, because there is no doubt that he's had a taste for it and it now means more to him than money.
So they say in America, when I spent a bit of time over there, if you've made a few quid, you either went into politics or you bought a sports team.
Right.
Now, he seems to be trying to do both because he is involved in politics. He's going to be the, what's it called, Dodge?
Yes. Co-chief of Dodge.
Co-chief of Dodge, but he's also linked to buying Liverpool Football Club.
Yes.
Do you think there's anything in that one?
Well, John Henry has said this week that Liverpool Football Club is not for sale.
And he's got plenty of money.
Plenty of money, right? And he doesn't need him.
Right.
So I think that's a non-starter and it's somebody just flying a kite. But there is no doubt that someone like him now, whether he's a taste for that notoriety. So football is something he'd want to get involved in. He's taking on, he's very competitive. So he wants to show everybody at every turn he's better than them.
Yep.
Right, so he thinks he's done that with NASA, with SpaceX. He's certainly, at the moment, done it with Tesla, although a lot of the Chinese manufacturers are catching up.
Yep.
So I think it's really, really interesting. But the point you made is that I don't know about this trying to get involved in British politics, right? The whole thing, Nigel Farage and your pal Nick Candy going to meet him at Mar-a-Lago and getting their picture taken in front of the Donald Trump portrait.
Which is
all of that.
Bizarre.
Bizarre. And then within weeks, because he disagreed with Nigel Farage about Tommy Robinson, who's in prison at the moment, for maybe his extreme views, and he might disagree with that. But I think that this does not go well for his relationship with Donald Trump.
No, I would agree. I mean, he actually got his facts wrong on Tommy Robinson.
Yeah.
He got the facts wrong.
Yes.
It didn't stop him putting it out to his 211 million followers. And I read an interesting piece from an old, I'm calling them old school politicians now, Willie, George Osborne,
Yes.
former Tory Chancellor.
Yes.
And he had an opinion on Musk that Musk was just the modern day embodiment of the old press barons, the Rupert Murdochs, the Rothermeres, the Beaverbrooks, who bought newspapers for influence.
Yes.
Musk now has more influence through his X channel than any of these press barons. So he's just the press baron of today.
On steroids.
On steroids.
On steroids. And it gets more and more interesting with the stories this week that the way round for TikTok being banned in the US is to be bought by Elon Musk.
So
now, if that happens, right, I think there'll be senators throwing themselves off the balconies in the Senate, because that's dangerous. And no matter what, it is dangerous to you think that money gives you that type of power. Democracy is dead. And on that, if you see what's happened in the last week with the climb down with Mark Zuckerberg in relation to third-party checking, it looks like, you know, I say the headlines of the papers, wokeism is dead.
Wokeism is, so he's got rid of Nick Clegg, former Liberal Democrat leader, easy for you to say, and because he was a bit too woke, and he brought in a Republican who worked for George W. So he's putting his camp right on Trump's lawn as well. I'm with you. And, you know, it's amazing, these tech billionaires, multi-gazillionaires, you know. Elon supposedly put in about 200 million into Donald Trump's campaign dollars. But since Donald Trump's been announced as the president-elect, his personal wealth has seemingly gone up in paper by about 40 billion.
Yes.
I mean, I can't get my head around these numbers. But they're not just doing it for the money, because they're all very wealthy.
Doing it for the money.
But this attraction to power, Willie, is something really interesting. Now, it is the Go Radio Business Show. We do absolutely understand that, but this is interesting. And so let me try and bring it back round, because my pal Nick Candy, who I've told him never invite me to any reform events ever. I'm not going to pay £10,000 to have dinner, especially with him. You should be paying it to.
Well, with Nigel Farage, it'll be steak pie and a pint
for 10 grand.
Yes.
People are attracted to this power, but do you think there is a place, like the bit I like about Elon in the US government is he's going to look at waste. I've always said, you know, you should be looking at procurement for UK, for Scottish government. Does government and business, they seem to speak different languages, but is there a role for business going in saying, right, we're going to have a look at your procurement, we're going to have a look at how you delivered this, and if you've got teeth, we are going to propose some radical reforms here. Do you think it works, or does it always end in tears?
Well, I definitely think that it has to be looked at.
Right.
And I think somebody like Elon Musk, if he gets the right operator below him, so what we're calling a quasi chief exec of procurement for the US government, I've got no doubt there is waste everywhere.
Oh, right? Absolutely.
So if their budget is in the trillions over a 10-year period just for military. So I've got no doubt that somebody like him, they're saying that he's talking about he's going to, over the period, he's going to save 20 trillion. Right. Now, that's a huge number, but I definitely think that he would make inroads. But if you take that back to the UK,
or
Scotland, right? So I always keep saying that we are small enough where we could make a difference. And I'd love to try a pilot. Right? I'd love to try a pilot. And this wouldn't cost the government a penny, but I think it would help business greatly. Please introduce a law tomorrow where no company can put you on more than 60 days payment.
I love it.
Right. There is no doubt now that all of these huge players with the introduction of all these big VC companies and everywhere, it's all about now cash and the bottom line. And I can tell you, medium-sized businesses and small businesses are getting killed.
Yeah.
Are getting killed.
But
I'll give you an example.
But listen, I want to take it further. I want to get someone to go in with, you got your terms of reference right,
Yeah.
and actually say, right, why is that regulation? Why is that happening? Let's get rid of it. Do you think any government's got the guts to do that?
I think that Rachel Reeves may find herself this week with what's happened with the bonds and gilts market now.
We're going to come to that.
Right? So, but leading into that, I would say 100% that she could find the 12 billion that she's lost this week with the uplift in the percentage rate for the bonds and gilt. She's lost 12 billion.
Yep.
She's only now got 10 billion of headroom left to head to where Liz Truss was. Right?
So,
that'd be a disaster.
But the question is, do they have the guts, the politicians, to bring a strong-minded business person in who is going to say, get rid of this, and this? Is that possible, or is it just a pipe dream?
But Tom, here's the problem. Even if you get a politician that's got, you know, the cojones that would want to do that, you've got an army of civil servants telling you how you can't. And what it's all about is job protection.
Yep.
Right? It's all about making sure this doesn't affect me. And you have to be bold to say, here's what we're going to do. And what you get happening is you get people, you know, people say that that too many of the politicians were shouting at poor civil servants, right? And I was harassed and I was bullied, and a lot's been said about the new Conservative leader, right?
Yep.
And I think that now that this is the time, and to answer your question, they're going to have to do it. They're going to have to leave no stone unturned to come up with fresh money, because what they can't do, they cannot come back with another budget and tax people further, right? Now, she's got two routes left now.
Yeah.
She either cuts, right,
or
to civil service costs, or puts taxes up, and she's got no more taxes
and
to
that
put
would
up.
be a disaster, really. But as you and I know, a good leader brings everyone with them.
Totally.
So they would sort the civil service and bring them along with it. So let me take you back to the UK economy. Let's bring it back to business.
Yeah.
And this matters to businesses listening to this show or watching this show, because it all heads towards interest rates. So 10-year gilts, and a gilt is very simple. That's just what the government gives you.
It's a piece of paper to borrow money.
Piece of paper to borrow money. And the 10-year gilt, so that means what you can borrow over 10 years, is at its highest level since 2008.
Yeah.
But the more worrying number is the 30-year gilt, because governments borrow longer term, is at the highest rate since 1998. Unbelievable. But, and I will defend Rachel from accounts here, it's not all her fault.
Yeah.
The other politicians are trying to say, oh no, look, it's Labour's fault. It isn't actually. It's a worry in the global economy about Donald Trump and his tariffs, etc. But here's some worrying numbers for Rachel from accounts. Cost of government borrowing back in 2009, the UK debt, right, because governments borrow money, was about £800 billion. 2009. Today, believe it or not, it's 2.8 trillion.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what a trillion is, but it's a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
And that's because of COVID, it's because of the NHS, it's because of the ageing population, it's all of these things, Willie. Brexit as well is a very good one. So the average interest rate during the 2010s was about 40 billion for UK to pay their
paybacks.
Now they're saying it's going to be 112 billion per annum if it stays the same. And these things go down as well as up.
Yeah.
112 billion. Therefore, Rachel does not have the headroom to move here. And as you say, what's she going to do? Cut spending? Cut public services? Labour Chancellor? Put up taxes? She's really caught. And therefore, that all comes back into what does it mean for interest rates, for me running my business, for you running your business, for the listener and viewer? running their business, and I think it's not looking too good. What's your thoughts, Willie?
Well, my thoughts are that it's fair to say that the first budget, I honestly don't believe has had the effect that they thought it was going to have. Right. Maybe even the opposite. So that's why there's been talk this week about her getting changed. There's no chance of that happening.
No.
Right? No chance of that happening. But she must be concerned by the headroom that's left now. So there's hardly any difference now between where she is and where Liz Truss was. Right?
Yep.
And look at the pound.
She's not as bad as Liz Truss.
No. It's nothing like Liz Truss's budget. No. But I'm saying in financial terms, we're nearly in the same position, right? Not because of what Liz Truss does and what Rachel Reeves has done. But the problem that she's got is she's got nowhere to go. She's absolutely nowhere to go. What do they come back in now and attack pension funds? Right? There's hardly anything left now that she can attack. So the only thing she's got to do now is she's in a lose-lose situation.
Yeah.
Right? Only thing new is she can make cuts to public spending. Or in your point, if you drop everything tomorrow and get a crack team to look at procurement, right? And say, where is the waste? And I'll guarantee you, there'll be 20, 30, 40, 50 billion.
You think that's the scale of the...
Well, here's an offer, right? Your point. I'll take the job. I'll do it for nothing.
Right, there you go.
I'll do it for nothing, just like Elon Musk. Right? I'll do it for nothing, and I'll guarantee you that if you drag the civil service with you and they help you in procurement, I've seen and heard some stories about public procurement in the last few weeks that have got me scratching my head.
So you've heard it here first, viewers.
Right.
Willie's wanting to take the job. He's not been offered it, but he's going to take it. Zero cost to the UK taxpayer. I love it.
Yeah. I'll pay 50 grand a year.
You're
I'll
paying
pay
for your
50
taxes.
grand a year.
Listen, the last budget, IHT for family businesses, Willie, it's affected you and me.
Well, I would just say to anybody watching or listening that the one thing about this story is there is a solution there and there is money to be found. And there's probably more money to be found than trying to tax people's pension funds or up the inheritance tax.
Right.
I think that Labour now must pivot, and they can't do it round about the budget. That would make them look stupid, or it looks as if they didn't know what they were doing.
Stupid, Willie.
What they need to do now here is they have to come up with a wow factor, right? That's going to say to people, well, wait a minute, that's quite clever, and also should help business. So looking at various things now to get people back on board that we've lost over the last 6 months, but also at the same time, I'm amazed. We're amazed that no one has mentioned procurement, right? And it's the one thing that the states have been talking about since day dot, all during the campaign, the election campaign, and now they're going to go on with it. So hopefully, but the wee glimmer of hope was today that kind of cheered people up. We dropped 0.1% inflation numbers, so we're now at 2.5 to 2.6. But I think the plunge in the dollar, the value of the pound against the dollar, is something to worry about. I mean, it's nearly down 8 cents in a few months. Yeah. That's huge. So I have to say, having a business in America, it's great for me, right? But as for bringing the money back, but I would just say that we need to do something. And obviously, it's the business show. We're worried about business. We talked about some. And then, what do we do in Scotland? Right, so your point, 100%. I don't think I'll ever get the job as a procurement director for Scotland.
You don't think so?
No, but I'd certainly offer to help with that as well.
Right. So the next interest rate setting meeting is February the 6th.
Yeah.
The inflation figure, it's amazing how these small movements, they go, oh, terrible, or, oh, right, that's not so bad. So they're now saying, oh, that's helpful. Mm-hmm. Maybe during the course of 25, the market's saying maybe 2-3 interest rate cuts. Let's see what's happening. So some better news.
Can't wait.
Some better news. Our pal Willie Watt at the Scottish National Investment Bank has put £20 million into a company called XLCC at Hunterston down in Ayrshire. And it's a subsea cable manufacturer. Going to be 900 jobs, 200 apprentices, and the National Wealth Fund, which is Westminster based. So Westminster and Holyrood working together for Scotland. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
We got to applaud it, Willie.
Yeah.
Well done there. We've got our pal, Sir Jim McDonald.
Well, we couldn't say the name before the break.
Well, you couldn't. And he's taken over at Scottish Enterprise.
Yeah.
I hope his first act is to bring one enterprise agency in Scotland. We have 3. We're 5.3 million souls. Why do we need 3 chief execs, 3 finance directors, 3 overheads, 3 offices? No,
Yeah.
one really cracking enterprise agency led by Sir Jim. Let's put Scotland, let's make Scotland great again, Willie.
Yeah. Well, just to finish on that, this segment is brilliant news that Jim has been appointed, you know, as the chair of Scottish Enterprise. Great friend of the show, but he's dynamic. He's got a passion for Scotland. That is a great move, and we really look forward to working with him. And let's get him back on the show to talk about the challenges ahead.
That's it. And I've got one last thing, just a wee plug here for Scott Mass Group. They have been through the Scale Up programme, Willie.
Yeah.
It's Alistair and Nicola Cameron, husband and wife team down in Kelso.
Yeah.
They've got water treatment tech, and they've got 2.2 million investment in from Maven Capital, the British Business Bank, Scottish Enterprise, and they're going to create 40 new jobs down in Kelso.
Fantastic.
So, well done, guys.
And great for the rural community. So well done. More power to your elbow.
The Go Radio Business Show with Hunter and Haughey. Hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and never miss an episode.
Oh, we've got somebody from Ayrshire on the show this week.
Ayrshire.
So you might know him. You might know him as our special guest. We've got Johnny Manning, who's the founder of Connekt EV.
Charging, yep.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Great to be here, guys.
Johnny, I've been reading the notes here that Sean the Sheep gives us, Sean from Entrepreneurial
that,
Scotland. And you're from Ayrshire,
Uh-huh.
sunny Ayrshire, but you've travelled a fair bit doing this.
Yep.
And I think probably during a long time ago, I maybe knew some of your relatives having bars in Ayr,
Yeah.
probably getting chucked out as well. But so I can't wait to hear the story. So just the listeners and the viewers now really like to hear about I certainly do. How did your life take this route when it could have went that way? And was there anything in your background, mum or dad, that was entrepreneurial that kind of got you to where you are today?
Yes, absolutely. I think that entrepreneurial sparkle was probably in my early doors.
Right.
My parents were talking about it, my mum at Christmas time, saying she called up to school, in primary school this is,
Right.
for taking money. I was taking money off other kids.
Were you giving them anything in return?
Well, I was. That's
Okay.
the good. That's the, well, I was giving them, it was conkers and pogs at the time, and I was
Right.
selling them. So always that in my locker to make a wee bit of extra money where I could. And
Right.
the best one, I think, without going into too much detail, but it was hilarious, was in Ayrshire you either play golf, you play rugby, and that's pretty much it. And then
I never did any of that.
I like to go fishing as well. And fishing was £3 a day. I
Right.
got £5 pocket money, and then I used to go off fishing, get my 2 trout, and I used to fill up them. I was 12, by the way, as well. Gut them, go next door, sell them for a £5, and that got my next day's fishing money because my mum wouldn't give me more than a £5.
Right,
And she used to
okay.
go and get on me, that will last you the week. So that was always there and thereabouts. And regards to my parents, they were kind of entrepreneurial background. They started the soft play, I guess, the revolution it must be now, with
Right.
kids play in Ayr.
Kids play, right.
Uh-huh.
Is that down the front at Prestwick?
Down the front used to be an arcade, used to be amusements that Dad had,
Right.
and then they turned it into the soft play,
Right,
and then
okay.
the Pirate Pete's
Pirate Pete's.
down. They bought the Hangar 13
Right.
pavilion, and then
Okay.
they transformed that. I dare say they put a lot on the line for it, and not all business things are fairy tales, and things didn't work out their way. So they had to, and this is relevant to my story, I guess, where things don't always work out your way. They had to start again. My mum had to go back and train as a teacher,
Right.
and Dad had to end up doing gardening at one point, and labouring. So I watched them come through these really difficult times, and the resilience they showed is definitely rubbed off in me.
Wow.
And I've carried that through to where I guess I'm getting on to now.
So once you've been through the school, you're showing promise as a rugby player.
Reasonable promise, yeah. Yeah, these people listening will laugh. My injury list is quite good.
Your injury list.
I used to get injured a lot. That was my thing. Played in the back, so pulled my
Right.
hamstrings, dislocated the shoulders. So I played rugby, yeah, played the air from I was 5.
Right.
Up to I was about 22. Then I went out to Australia. I'd done university before that because my
Right.
mum told me I had to go to university.
Do what your mum tells you.
But I didn't. I went because I was told, and I liked the social aspect of it. I learnt a bit along the way, but I always knew that I was never going to be a lawyer or an accountant.
Right.
It just wasn't in me. Just certainly wasn't in me. I liked the entrepreneur side. Off I went to Australia, played rugby there. Never believe waste of money I was for them. I got injured before the first pre-season game.
Right.
And then I got a job as a project and business development manager for an electrical contracting firm that was
Over there.
over there.
Right.
That was not qualified for. But I just worked hard. And then someone had brought up EV charging and EVs 15, 16 years ago.
Right. Okay.
So as you'd imagine, Australia are even far behind than we are
Are
sometimes.
they really? Yeah.
And especially where I was in kind of central Newcastle in Australia.
Yeah.
And everyone laughed at it at the time. But I kind of went, maybe something in that. So I banked that for a rainy day.
Right.
Came back from Australia, skint, as you do. Parents being my parents, saying, you're not lying about here all day, get out and find yourself a job. And I didn't have any money. I had a friend who's a graphic designer, and I had a business idea where 2 for 1 for going into bars or burgers, and 2 for 1 getting nightclubs. And I had my mum's printing paper she had for her school, and I got my friend to mock up some designs for a few local businesses, the Balgarth,
Right.
MacArthur's, and somewhere else. And we went in, and this is a really relevant to my story. I went into Kevin Finney.
Kevin.
Sadly, he's
God
passed away now.
rest him, eh?
Yeah. At the Balgarth, with these 3 Kodak papers kind of documents, a bit of string around it. This is what it'll look like. It's going to be loads of deals in the middle, magnet either end and a credit card size, and open up a concertina fold of all these deals. And you pay to get on it, and I sell them for £3 to people out in the streets, and they buy them, they come to your place, they use them. I said, right, I'll take the front cover, Johnny boy. This is Kevin, if you've met Kevin.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, that's £6.50. He said, come with me. So he goes out to his Range Rover, opens up his thing. He says, there you go. It's £500. I was like, Kev, it's £6.50. He said, yes. He said, wee man, beat it, take it. I was all right, Kev. So I took
That was your
it.
first negotiation, eh?
So it was, and it really was, and it gave me the belief that you can start something out of nothing, even with no money. And it gave me my first ever yes in life, and I always remember Kevin for that. I'm always very thankful for
He's a
giving
good
me
boy.
that first ever real chance. And then quickly kind of elevate the story through from there is I went to a company, NCS, School of Hard Knocks, Tom Nolan.
Right.
You were my top.
I worked with him for 10 years.
You know him, Willie?
I told you.
I worked for him for 10 years. It's very much a school of kind of hard knocks.
So
in
what,
there.
what did he
I
do?
bought a photocopy
I
of it
don't know.
30 years ago. I'm still paying it.
No kidding. Was that what he does?
Telecommunications, I did in
Aye.
particular, because
Right.
there's a thread through to that, to what I do now. And it's old school. It's become a man
Right.
in business.
He moved with the times.
Did
He
he?
went from photocopiers and fax machines to telecoms.
Telecoms, that's the biggest thing now, probably.
Aye.
So I got into done that, telecoms, and I learned so much along the way. And all whilst I was on this journey, I was always thinking, I'm doing this, I'm going to practice as a manager, a sales manager. I was trying to learn about business and trial and
Right.
other people's time, I guess. I'm sorry, Tom, for listening. But that's what I was trying to do at the time. And then it came to about 2020, and I remember being at some pub up in Uplamure, and they had an EV charging point. And I thought back and had a conversation with someone about EV charging, coincidentally. But it was free, so you could go, plug in your car. The
Right.
restaurant was paying the electricity for providing this service,
Right.
and the driver would get free electricity, which is tremendous. And I was like, this can't be. Why? There must be more to this game than this is the future of transportation, and it's just free. and so that went for a while, but lockdown happened in 2020, like I said, and everyone else was away and probably having a drink and a laugh and time off.
And you
my
weren't.
age, and I wasn't, no. And I thought that was my opportunity. I spent probably 14 hours a day every single day making calls, everyone all around Europe, all around the world, to be honest, to basically try and set up this operating platform,
Right.
an app that would essentially allow businesses to offer EV charging facilities where they could be reimbursed for the cost of electricity. The driver would pay a fair price, which would be set by the business, and we take a small cut of every single
Right.
bit of that charge, and that's all done through
You would
our
do
app.
the capex of installing it.
So no, we'd
No?
go along and there's a couple of options now, but we'd go along and we would say, look, you need X for your electrical upgrade, Y for your groundworks, and Z for your kit, and we roll it
Right.
all up and we give them finance options to pay rentals, and in turn the recurring revenue would pay for the rental of the solution. So in turn, it's quite an attractive way because we give the majority back to ensure they can cover that.
I
And as the
see.
growth of EVs continues, it will start to be quite a profitable
Right.
arm for the business. So 2020 to 2022, the business was founded in 2020, but Connekt EV Charging, which we have electric vehicle charging network as well as a commercial installer, is launched officially in 2022. I needed some money to do it.
Right.
I had a little bit of money, and I'd done what all entrepreneurs do. I went to my brother's father-in-law, and who was the finance director of BA Systems actually, and the times you could get out of the house. And I told him I've got this idea, and he's that's brilliant. And then
That's
I
brilliant.
told him, and then he just started modelling it up for me.
Did he?
And then I went out to people I knew who had lots of money, and they said this idea. I got told to beat it numerous times, and then I got someone to give me 100 grand.
Wow.
So your first funding was kind of friends, family, and fools.
Fools.
The usual
Ah,
3
three
Fs.
Fs.
Absolutely. So then I got the 100 grand. That allowed me to prove concept and get into some good hotels, some workplaces, some businesses, because businesses need it too. Giving away free charging, you wouldn't install a petrol pump and just give away diesel for free
No.
or petrol for free. So you need a way of quantifying the energy spend in the business, and you can give them preferential charging tariffs, and you can give them that choice. So from 2022, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, but definitely going up the way. From the last now to from 2022 to now, we've done another seed funding. In between that, where I got a senior management team, I got a finance director, I got a technical director, and a ops director, and that type of people are really needed in the business at that stage, because the old expression "scale ups aren't for everyone," because they're absolutely not. And learning a lot about culture and what culture is and what isn't. He told me 10 years ago about culture, I'd have laughed, but that's not a thing. But it's everything we do now. We've got a culture and values day next Tuesday for day at the office.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's came through, obviously, with Scale Up Scotland.
So you've been on the Scale Up programme?
Yes.
Did you get to Blair?
I got to Blair's second home now.
I need to check the rent.
I would, 18-month cohort. I've been very fortunate to get picked for that, and it is very fortunate. I've had numerous people come up to me after and in between it saying, is it any good? Is it just one of those business? I said, I can assure you, and it's not just because I'm sitting here just now.
No.
It's genuinely the best business decision I've ever made.
There you go. You heard it here.
For my
Join Scale Up. Apply now.
It was what you learn in there. You don't get anywhere else. You don't meet the people, the network you get. I've got Peter Cummings has invited me a couple of times to your old headquarters, and
Great.
he's done help we're doing a Series A investment raise now. He's helped me with that, the modelling, if I help my finance director.
Good man, Peter.
So the people you meet, they don't tell you. People don't. It's quite a lonely place starting a business.
We know about that.
You don't really get. You lose a lot of friends who you used to have. I'm just play rugby, a very sociable guy. Not sure I've got no pals, but
You Johnny no mate. Is that what you're trying to say?
And I definitely you lose a lot of mates, and you get around these people, and everyone's like, "Hi, I'm the same as that. I'm going through that as well just now."
Yeah.
And it was one of the best things I've ever done. And I guess to naturally progress onto that, I remember I left entrepreneurial I left Scale Up, and my partner, my fiance, was like, "What's wrong with you just now?" And I was like,
Withdrawal symptoms.
she went, "You're just you can't have a conversation with you properly. And she went, go and join Scale Up or something. And I found out about Entrepreneurial Scotland.
Great.
And I did, and I went on that, great bunch of people, and I went to the matrons lunch.
Right.
And met so many great people, great business off the back of it, helped some people at that as well.
Great networking, yeah.
Great.
Yeah, and so it was phenomenal. So I can't say enough for that side of things. And now the business, we in 2.5 years, we've got up to 2 million turnover last year,
2 million.
and 15 full-time staff, a board, non-execs. So we're kicking it pretty hard. And then now we're just engaging a Series A raise for 8 million, which we hope to land by May or June.
Right.
So it's
And how is it raising money in Scotland? How are you finding it? Truthfully.
It's bloody hard. It's got kicked down a lot of doors. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to chap a lot of doors. Got told a lot
And
of
have you
no's.
raised the last funding? Have you raised all of that in Scotland?
I've raised all that in Scotland.
Yeah,
Yes, somebody
yeah.
you might know quite well, actually, Keith
Yeah.
Campbell.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've raised that through, again, it was the wealthy kind of individuals. And actually, talking about Scale Up, that's the beauty of this. Craig Johnston is actually one of my non-execs. He's also invested in my business. Became one of my good mates. Come to my wedding. This is the kind of what's came off the back of that.
Craig's a good lad.
Yeah, he is. He's brilliant. So it's been pretty difficult, I guess, to an extent. I think I'm very fortunate in that our industry is quite a hot industry.
Right.
There is money around
So
for it.
has it changed the business as you've been going? Have you seen opportunities? All right, we'll go here, or has it pretty much stayed from the way it was at the start, Johnny?
It's evolved so much.
So much.
It's the theory of the kind of early theory. Everyone laughs and goes, "What are you doing? Why are you doing this? It's never going to catch on." And you're like, "Fine, so I'll keep cracking on." And then the early adoption phase, and we're not at the kind of lift of the hockey stick as such per se, but my finance director came in, refined our strategy: hotel, hospitality, leisure, and larger workplace.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we got a few big contracts. Cameron House, we just put 30 connectors in there.
Right. Okay.
Your Rad Group in Ayrshire, your Manor View Group, a few other luxury hotels and groups and things.
So let me ask you a couple of questions on that, Johnny. Obviously, I've been involved in this. I don't install chargers, but obviously we've looked at it with building houses and what have you. And I certainly got the impression in the last year or so that people are not talking about electric cars as much as they were. Right. And so, like, for instance, in the blocks of flats that we're building, we're going to put in all these EV chargers. When we spoke to people at the start, they were all excited by it. Now they're not interested even where they are because they're not buying an electric car. Right. So I just wonder that when I looked at it myself, it was a huge amount of money to install an EV charger. Has that went down? Has the cost of an installation went down yet?
Our model versus, we don't do housing.
Right.
It's just, I guess, part of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't become a massive part of the conversations we have. We try and take it away from, away from cost, I guess, from that side. With the electric vehicle market, I mean, 30% of all new cars sold in the UK are electric.
Right.
Which is, but compare that to Norway, I was just reading from Pitch Deck, 91%.
91? Wow.
And we model ourselves sometimes, and we'll be like Norway, we'll be like them, and look how far ahead they are, which in turn shows you the opportunity, I guess, because there's 7,000 EV chargers in Scotland, 70,000 in the UK, but we need between 350,000 to 500,000 chargers in the UK. But your answer to the cost side of things, a little bit, not massively.
So take Cameron House. Did they fund all that and pay for it, or did you finance it for them?
Perfect question. So with what we did with Connekt was we looked at the problems in the past. One shoe does not fit all. So we provide them a solution that they are customer funded. So for their immediate clients, so people staying overnight, they want chargers to suit that. So 7.4 kilowatt chargers suit people who are staying there. So 8 hours to 10 hours it takes to charge a car for that period of time. They've got 22 kilowatt chargers that you drive into left, car park 1 in there. They stay for about 2 to 4 hours. You put 22 kilowatts that suit there. They've got the VIP parking to the left. They put 40 kilowatts because their valet parking are electric and they want to go to the airport. and come back. So they need to charge in about an hour.
Right.
So they
That's
paid
called the Tam Hunter Bay.
Aye,
Tam
right,
Hunter Bay, aye.
right.
I've got a 22 by the way. I've not got a 40.
And they pay for all that, and they pay for that, and in turn they get revenue back. In turn, they get reimbursed over a period of
I
time.
see.
So sorry, Mark. It was no fair to dig out a specific customer. So your customers now, right? Do they pay the capital?
On that scenario, and then what we've just started, because we've now got funding for it through not to mention names, so we get funding through British Business Bank, through FSE,
Right.
who have been brilliant. And I share that a lot with a lot of my cohorts. They loan on your future forecasts versus you go to a bank and they look at you 3 years and go, no thanks.
Yeah.
But they look at the potential in you, and they loan on that. So
Okay.
the first ever one we actually did was on the Callan House estate. We put in a rapid hub,
Right.
and there we fund that. It's quite capital intensive. We've got to pull from the grid. You've got to pull from happen to have a substation next to these parking bays. Hence why I come up with that idea
Right.
for that particular site. We own that bit of land for 15, 20 years. And then we take the majority of that revenue, and they get a fixed bay rental, which in turn they win, because people who are travelling through that kind of main artery between Glasgow and Argyll and Butte, which is they're going to pull in, stop there, because you get rapid charging. There's not much up that way, and then they'll jump it, sit into maybe the boat house, or they'll go for a bite to eat, a coffee.
So let me ask you, your assumptions with that, has the usage in that particular installation above what you thought or below what you thought?
That was a particularly good site. That's our highest. That's our best using site ever.
Okay.
The same, but then like your rad groups in Ayrshire.
Right.
Again, Seamill Hydro and those sorts of places. Lockside.
Yep.
So
So it's
that's
Robert
why
Kyle. Robert Kyle.
Robert Kyle,
Right,
yes,
okay.
yeah, he's a hard nut to crack. But again,
Right,
we're
okay.
managing to beat the likes of SSE and the big Eon, these big large
All right.
companies. And we're this Scottish independent company, and given can I get like a charging infrastructure in Scotland is dissolving. Charge Place Scotland, which is the government's charging network.
That hasn't worked, has it?
No.
No.
So started for. You want to tell you a bit, I guess, about that?
No. I guess we're kind of coming to the end here, Johnny. So what would you say? You've got the listeners and the viewers this morning. You know, your story is a brilliant story of overcoming adversity, etc. Any tips, any golden nuggets for the folks listening today?
I think just having relentless belief in what you're doing, resilience, and just never stop believing in what you're doing, and just don't give up. There's no real magic secret sauce than hard work and having belief in yourself, and when everyone's telling you around you, and lawyers and everyone else saying, "I don't do this, don't do that. It's not going to work." Just believe in yourself, and it does work. And my favourite saying I have with my team, who will laugh when they hear this, I call it compound effort. It's you put on continuous work every single day. You don't see anything, and then finally you get a breakthrough, and you're like, "That's why I was doing that." And that's probably my biggest.
And then trying to find, like Scale Up or Entrepreneurial Scotland, who are like-minded people who you say it's not quite as lonely when you find
game changer.
A group.
Massive game changer. Go out and actively look for these groups, these cohorts, these 12 people I had at Scale Up, become your best friends after a while. So I can't genuinely recommend it, and that's not just a plug. It has been one. I always say it to everyone I meet. A lot of people have gone on the course since then as well.
Well,
I'll say to you that be ready for the backlash. I'm sure that all your rugby pals watching this, when you told us at the start about how injury brought your career to an end, and then you told us about an injury, and I'm waiting for a broken rotator cuff or a hip, and he says I pulped my hammy. Oh my God, you're going to get pelters. Brilliant.
I don't know anything about sports, so I don't even know where my hamstrings are. So
you need chances you pulling that hamstring. No, how there's no money in it. There's no chance you pull a hamstring. But listen, brilliant. And anybody watching, listening, Connekt is the place to go to get your EV charger.
Absolutely.
And brilliant story. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, gents.
Thank you very much for coming in. I think the listeners, the viewers have got a lot out of that today, and best of luck to you.
Yeah. No, thanks very much. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Johnny.
The Go Radio Business Show with Hunter and Haughey. Hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and never miss an episode.
Tom, our very first guest on our new channel on the board you can't afford is Donna Kerr.
Donna, welcome.
Thank you, gents.
You're number one, and you brought gifts today as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much
And
for the
Donna's the
gift.
founder of DMK Finance.
So what is DMK Finance, Donna?
Okay, so I'm very much a late bloomer to running my own business. Started at 54, which was 3
You're
years.
never 54.
I'm 54, so started 3 years ago.
Goodness.
You know, the reason for that being I had a long, very successful banking career,
Right.
where I started off my banking career as a relationship manager, then went into relationship director, and then managing big teams, and then helping set up the Bank of Scotland broker proposition. So I knew the intermediary market very well, supporting SME and corporate clients, and had, you know, a fantastic career. And at the age of 54, I decided that banking was no longer the way forward for me. It was becoming more difficult to do your job because clients weren't getting supported by credit functions anymore. The appetite was restricting, and the relationships we built over the years were becoming more difficult to support clients. And the market was getting wider and wider with, you know, alternative routes
Alternatives,
of, you know, specialist funders. So with my knowledge and expertise, I thought, right, why can't I just go and do that? And I'll create a lifestyle business where I'll start my yoga and walk my dogs and all that kind of stuff. That's not really happened. So back 3 years ago, literally launched the business, got myself regulated, and we're now at 4 people. And I am managing a business now where my pipeline is bigger than what it was when I was running a team of 12 at Bank of Scotland.
Wow. So just explain to the listeners and the viewers what it is you actually do.
So essentially what I do, all my business is referred by accountants, agents, lawyers and so on.
Right.
So I work very closely with businesses that are looking for commercial finance, whether it be property for investment property, whether it be propco buying a commercial property, or whether they need finance for trading. So it might be cash flow loans, it might be asset or invoice finance,
Right.
funding for growth.
So all sorts of finance.
Essentially what we would do in the bank. So you
Yeah.
would go to the bank, and the bank relationship managers, directors would have done that job. But banks no longer deploy that type of personal service. They may do it for bigger corporate clients, but not for everyone. But also appetite's very restricted. So with clients coming to me, we can go to mainstream banks, but we also have access to over 200 funders. So we can find different ways to fund clients and give them access to finance that they might not have had the opportunity to be exposed to.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's fantastic because, you know, we would still take it to the mainstream bank if we think it's a vanilla transaction and it should sit there. But usually there's a little wrinkle, or it's a bit more complex, so we need higher leverage, or it's a bit more sporty. Then, you know, we will find the appropriate funder. And because of my banking background, I can underwrite the paper, I can assess the risks, I can mitigate the risks. So by the time it lands with underwriting, they have a fully fledged credit paper. So they
Right.
can make a very quick decision, yes or no. And that's kind of where the bank's going now. They want the business to be packaged up and presented to them, rather than having to deploy big teams that's going to have to work hard for hours and hours producing the credit paper and doing the risk mitigation.
So this is great for all the startups out there that are looking, who've never dealt with banks before. They've got someone here who's an expert who used to sit across the table, can help them put their applications together.
Absolutely, and we will help them to navigate them to the right channel. So if it's a,
Great.
you know, a start-up business, we'll, you know, might not necessarily be me because we're debt-led.
Yeah.
Sometimes we can work with a bit of investment, but predominantly debt-led.
Yeah.
But if they do need debt in the very early stages, we'll point them to the appropriate houses that, you know, like your DSLs
Yeah.
and things like that. But if they've got some security, they've got a bit of skin in the game that they can bring to the table, we could get support from the mainstream banks or some of the specialist funders that would back them, depending on the proposition.
Do you have a kind of sweet spot of saying, yeah, this is my number that I'm looking for, or business I'm looking for? Or
Yeah, what gets me excited, I know this is quite bizarre, but I do love trading businesses. I love getting under the bonnet of the entrepreneurs, the journey of the business, their proposition to market, the trading, what is it they do. So trading businesses is a real sweet spot of mine. I understand it, understand what product they need to help grow their business, because it's not just all about putting in a loan, it might be a bit of asset finance, it might be a bit of debtor finance, it might be commercial, it might be a bit of investor loan. So really enjoy the trade and business side. So we support, we've got quite a bit of work in progress for businesses that are, that are leasing their premises, that are looking to buy. So, OpCo, PropCo type loans that might be sitting in a holding company. We've got a lot of trading businesses that are looking to grow, and they think that, it just is a hardcore loan, which is not. They've got a debtor book there, so we'll look at invoice finance to help them grow. We do a lot of property, so we work with a lot of property investors. The good thing is we work in a lot of sectors. We support a lot of funders in the hospitality sector where it's really difficult to find finance. So we fund a lot of pubs, we fund a lot of restaurants, we fund a lot of service accommodation type propositions. We do a lot of helping clients dissect assets that they've got for alternative use, and through our networks, got very, very good networks.
So before we move to your question, give yourself a plug, don't be ashamed. How can people get in touch with you? What's the name of the company and how can they
So DMK Finance is the company, and I'm on LinkedIn. I'm quite active on LinkedIn, showcasing some of the cases that we support clients with, because I think that's important to let clients know what we can do. There's a lot of people on LinkedIn, I think in general talking rubbish, but at the end of the day, for me, when I go into LinkedIn, it's about here's who we are, here's what we do, here's how we're supporting clients, because that's sort of, in my view, what people want to know. And to help give little snippets for people to look in and say, well, actually, my business could do with a bit of support like that, and I want to understand a bit more. And it's a very personal service. They get to talk to me, they get to talk to Karen or Kevin. We have an underwriter on our books, which is great. So we've got an ex-banker underwriter who the guy always says no at the other side. He helps us mitigate the risk for the bank. So by the time it goes to the funder, it's a really well versed.
Are you brutal enough to tell people you've got no chance of getting money on this case?
Yeah,
which is good, to be honest.
A fast no is so important, Willie. There's no point in taking somebody down 3 months of give me everything and throw your granny in, and you're still not getting it. So, and I understand that from a banking background, is that's what the banks did really badly. Is they put people through the sausage machine to say no at the end. And where we're really unique is we can provide headline terms within 24 hours for a lot of stuff that would sometimes take funders a lot of time, because we can get under the bonnet of it quickly, and we have direct relationships with underwriters because we're gold intermediaries.
So what's your question for me and Tom?
So my question to you guys is obviously around finance. For businesses, access to finance is absolutely critical for the growth of any business. So during your time as entrepreneurs, I'm really keen to know what your mindset, your attitude towards risk and leveraging your businesses up, and more about your mindset, and because obviously it's a big decision to take on a lot of debt, and I don't know what you did and didn't do, but it'd be great to understand that.
So,
Wally, this is one for you.
So I'm a wee bit unique. Obviously, the listeners and viewers have heard the story before, but I was lucky that when I went to the Middle East and I earned some money, I come back and I used that as the seed money. And I was very fortunate that from that day on, we generated enough cash in the business. And then we sold 67% of the business in 90, and that gave us cash, but we stayed in the business, and then we bought the business back. But the story is that I've been very, very fortunate for most of the time in my business career. I've not borrowed from a bank. I've borrowed a bit now. We're building houses, which you've got to do that. So I'm probably not a good example. But what I'd say, my experience, I'd have to say that I've been with the Bank of Scotland since the day I started my business, and I just have to say that they've been a fantastic partner. And if any time when I have asked them for stuff, it might have been something short term or whatever, but certainly the bank have always been there for us.
And do you think that's because, and the old chestnut is that you get credence when you've got money and you've got the red carpet treatment from the bank?
Yeah.
But it's when those clients that do need a buffer and they do need the cash and they need the leverage right up to maybe say 70% or something like that, is when the funders are maybe not at the table, and they don't get the red carpet, or maybe once they had the red carpet and that's changed.
Again, I probably can't talk about it because I've never been that, and I would never be in that position where I've leveraged to 70%. I wouldn't advise anybody to do that. But what I would say is the thing for me, I think that's disappeared a wee bit is relationship banking.
Yeah.
You know, a guest earlier mentioned Peter Cummings, and we've been working with the same banks for years and years and years. Tom works across a few banks, but I think that I'm a wee bit disappointed that I understand how the banks got a bit afraid during the independence vote.
Yeah.
And I know that how they had to, they wanted to relocate their head offices, and I think a lot of the decision making now for loans in Scotland is made down south.
Yeah.
And I just wish that was a bit different.
And I think it's a really good point is that, through my banking career, that the number one thing is being able to talk to someone and having, because when you're building your business and you're going through lots of different scenarios and situations, being able to talk that through what you would think would be an expert, your banker at the time, and that's always been the case, and bankers are very, very experienced, and there's some amazing bankers out there which I've got a huge amount of respect for, know a hell of a lot more than me, but the relationship bit is gone, and every day, I'm picking up calls from clients and they just go, it's just so good to speak to someone that understands my business.
Who understands it, yes.
And it's such a big relief for them to say, look, I don't have to phone, dial 1, 2, 3, and then I get passed to 4 different people. And every time I speak to someone, I haven't to tell the same story over and over.
A credit decision's made in India with somebody who doesn't know.
So what do you think to the question?
So I think what's happened in the banking sector, banking for growing businesses sector, is that it's been disrupted like every other sector. And I think that's good. So it used to be, Willie, we would go to Bank of Scotland or Royal Bank or whoever, but that now is less and less. Somebody we had at our Scale Up conference was Rishi Khosla, the founder of Oak North. I was speaking to Rishi yesterday, and he is saying he is getting so much business because he's employing people to speak to businesses. Whereas the traditional high street bank, if you want to call it, it goes to a credit committee in India. It's a technology answer. The computer says no.
AI said no.
And therefore, that's why it's fascinating what you're doing, Donna, because that's what he's saying. He's making it. And then on the show, Willie, we had the fella from Australia with the bank, and he was saying he came to banking through saying, I don't understand banks. Why would we not do it this way? So a completely fresh approach. And now the unregulated sector and the private credit funds are dwarfing the regulated sector, which may be a problem down the line. But for growing businesses, I think what you're doing is terrific, because one of the things we find through scale ups is that the businesses don't really know the different types of finances. They're not lender ready, so they don't quite know. So if you can say to them, right, if you want to borrow money, you need to understand this, and this, you can package it, and then you can explain there's development finance, there's asset finance, there's invoice finance. This is a quagmire for most early stage businesses. So I really like what you're doing.
It is the bit that gets me up in the morning is the relationship piece, because when I speak to clients, I get it right away. I know exactly what they're trying to do. They don't even know themselves, but I can see exactly where they're going, and obviously having that expertise, and it's quite exciting because the market is really strong for alternative financiers, and that's not, subprime funders that are charging astronomical rates. This is funders that are charging the same rates as a bank. They don't have the same covenant restrictions. They don't have the same pain to go through what it is going through a credit function with the high street bank. They have a much better appetite. They talk to you. We can talk to the underwriters. It's when you're in the bank, the underwriter wouldn't talk to the client. That would be like, oh my goodness, that's never going to happen. Underwriters will come on to calls and they'll talk to the clients, and they'll buy into the journey, the people, because a lot of it is that you have to look at the whites of eye and say, look, do these guys really understand their own business? And that's such an exciting time for clients, is that there is, they think the only people in the market is the high street banks, and it's not.
Well, we wish you all the very best, and thank you for coming on the show, the first one of the new year.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate that.
DMK Finance, for anybody looking to get involved with a bank, phone Donna.
Yep. Phone Donna. It's a great service, and I love the story. So good luck.
Tom, always happy to help you if you need a wee bit of commercial finance.
The Go Radio Business Show with Hunter and Haughey. Hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and never miss an episode.
Well, for all our new viewers, Tam,
Yep.
this is the first series of the new year. Hope you all enjoyed it. And if you do enjoy it, please hit the subscribe button and then we'll know that you liked it. But we're hoping to have a few fantastic shows all lined up for this year.
Yep. And we're really keen to hear what you think of the show. Any guests you would like to hear from, anybody else, any topics you want to talk about, get onto YouTube, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you next week.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
The Go Radio Business Show with Hunter and Haughey. Hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and never miss an episode.